Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lennia Johnson, reading specialist extraordinaire. Today is our lit talk for Burst in the Books. Jerima and I had some technical difficulties where we both couldn't be a part of this lit talk. Facebook is having issues today. So I am going to go through some of the questions that were brought to Jerima about our topic, which was what are some ways to improve reading comprehension from 4 to 7 year olds. And 4 to 7 year olds, those are the younger primary students. So our first question that was posed to Jerima was, what does reading comprehension look like for children 4 to 7? I was really excited when we decided to hone in on the specific age groups because there is so much information that I can give to you all. But when we break it down into our smaller reading group sections, it makes it a little bit easier so I can give you more detailed instructions or strategies and tips. So from children 4 to 7, I'll break it down into three groups. 4 to 5, which is pre-K to kindergarten. And then you have the ages of 5 to 6, which is kindergarten to about first grade, beginning of first grade. And then 6 and 7 year olds, which are first to second grade. So the 4 to 5 year olds are more the read aloud students. They are the ones that have to be read to. They don't know how to read yet. They're just learning their ABCs and what a sound of a letter is and how to blend those sounds into words to start to read. Kindergarten through first, they are starting to read on their own, but they still need assistance from the parents and the teachers. They have small sight word books. They're getting into sight words, and again, they enjoy read alouds and can benefit from read alouds when it comes to their comprehension as well. And then we have our 6 to 7 year olds, which are reading more independently, but they still need assistance. Again, the more complex words, they are starting to blend more words and decode more words on their own, but they still need our guidance as teachers and as parents to help them with their comprehension. So one of the next questions we had was, how do I know if my child is comprehending or having issues with comprehension? How do I even know what they're comprehending? Well, there are some signs that you will actually see. Well, of course, you have to talk to your child's teacher to know what's going on in the classroom with your student, and you'll see if you have to be an involved parent. As we've said many times at these lit talks, you have to pay attention to their classwork. What are the grades coming back? What are the classworks, the homeworks that are coming back? What are their scores on their assessments? And when you're talking to your child, when they're reading their homework assignments or you're reading to them, what are their responses like? Do they make sense? You ask them, what did the boy do in the story? And they say, I like applesauce. Well, if they're telling you I like applesauce, then yes, they are having some issues with comprehension. They're having issues with comprehension. So some things to help all of our students, all of our children from the ages of 4 to 7, it's important to, again, read, and read with them again. So the read alouds are the stories that they like, the Pete the Cat stories, the Gingerbread Man's, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Those are some of the classics, so I named those. We all know those. And when you're doing these read alouds, there's a style of reading. It's called dialogic reading. And pretty much it gives you a step-by-step process to help make sure that your child is thinking more in depth, not just looking at the pictures, not just listening and enjoying the story. It's called the peer strategy. So the first P is to prompt what they say about the book. So let's say we're reading a book about a fire truck. You say, hey, what do you see on the page? After you've read the page, what do you see on the page? And they'll say, hey, I see a fire truck. And this is where the first E comes in, evaluate, which is evaluate their response. If they say fire truck, and the book is about fire truck, then they're on track. If they say, oh, I see a bug, and it's because there's a little dot on the book, or they say, I see Superman, that has nothing to do with the book, you have to evaluate what their response is. So let's just say that they did say fire truck. You'll say fire truck. You say, oh, okay, you see that fire truck. Well, the second E is expand. Expand what they said to you. So you'll say, oh, I see that fire truck. That fire truck is red. Do you see that fire truck is red? And they'll look at the fire truck. Most of the time they'll look and they'll check it. Or you'll ask them, is the fire truck blue? Just to make sure that they're paying attention. And then we get to the R in peer, which is repeat the prompt and make sure they understood what you're saying or what you wanted them to know. So you repeat the phrase. So what do you see on the page? Do you see a red fire truck or do you see a blue fire truck? So it's that questioning piece. You always have to question them throughout the story. And even because the 5 to 6, 7-year-olds, 6 and 7-year-olds, they're starting to read more informational texts. So it's important that we start having them repeat what they actually read or what you read to them or what you helped them read, because they do have books in kindergarten and first grade for those informational texts sometimes. So have them summarize. Tell me what you read. What did you hear me say? What do you remember about Goldilocks? What did she do when she came into the house? Did she lie down? Did she eat the porridge first? And as I say those words, those ordinal words, first, second, third, sequencing activity. So comprehension is not just reading and regurgitating, summarizing what they heard or read. It's also being able to put those things in a sequential order. Can they tell you the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story? So you can do sequencing activities. One of the things that I've done with my kindergartners, actually all grades that I've taught, pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade, I've used sequence cards. You can get those from Lakeshore, and they're sequence story cards, and you have to put the pictures in order. So on one side is just the pictures that make sense in order, and then on the other side they'll have the sentences. So that's where the more reading comes in, and you can help them with their reading skills, which helps with the comprehension. It's all woven together. It's not just one thing. It's all woven together. You can do simple sequencing activities when you're at home. Hey, let's bake some cookies. What's the first thing that we need to do? What's the second thing we need to do? So even though it's not specifically on reading a book and telling you what happened in the beginning and the middle and the end, it gives them the concept of sequence, because that is a skill that they do need for reading and comprehension. Some other things you could do how-to activities, and well, I did the how-to. So how do you make a cookie? How do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? Another idea that I use for the younger primary students is to draw the stories out. So after you've read a story and you've enjoyed the book, have them draw, maybe have 3 squares. They have worksheets, tons of worksheets that you can find on websites that you can draw the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. Because some of our babies, the 4 and 5-year-olds, are not yet writers just yet. So they might have to draw their story out and then tell you what's going on in their picture. And you as a parent, I as a teacher, can dictate what they are actually drawing on their picture. So all of these things, again, as I said, even though it's not actual reading a book and regurgitating or summarizing what's going on, it helps them when it comes to the time where they have to sit down and do that. And I kind of touched on those informational books because as they get older, they're using more informational text. When you take those library trips, get some informational books, get some National Geographic books so they can retell you the information. And another thing that helps with comprehension is activating their prior knowledge. So if the informational text is about gorillas, well, what do you know about gorillas? What do they look like? What do you think they feel like? These are the types of questions that you have to ask as a parent and as a teacher to get their brains going. A lot of the curriculums now require, and with Common Core, require that there's the deeper thinking, the deeper understanding of what we're reading, not just with the fictional text, but with the informational text. And that's where summarizing, taking the whole picture, I used to tell my students to take the whole picture and put it in a small little box. So we're taking everything that happens and put it in a small little box. So those are the things that we can do to help our students, our children, to comprehend. So it's mainly the questioning part, I forgot one, prediction questions. What do you think is going to happen? So you read about 2 pages of the story and you say, hey, what do you think Johnny's going to do after he jumps in the water? Is he going to be cold? And then go back after you read those books and check them. Well, did Johnny get cold when he jumped in the water? Did Goldilocks get scared when she ate the porridge or when the bears came in? You have to ask those prediction questions. It's in teacher world, it's called the KWL. It's what you know. You talk about what you know. You talk about what you want to know, and you talk about what you learned at the end. So you predict, you read on, and then you go back and see if what you predicted was correct. And that also tells you if you need to reread, because rereading is also a part of reading comprehension. If you don't catch it the first time, we as adults do it as well. If there's a sentence and it doesn't make sense the first time, you have to reread that sentence to fully understand and comprehend what's going on. And for our 4 to 7-year-olds, a lot of their books will have pictures. So use those pictures. Those pictures tell a lot about what's going on in the story. So that can help them in understanding what's going on in the story and what the words are saying. It makes that connection. So that's just a few of the tips that we could use for our 4 to 7-year-olds. Prediction, peer, asking those questions, prompt them, evaluate their response, then expand their response, and then repeat it back to them to make sure that they understand it. Make sure we're summarizing what we're reading, our informational text. What did you read? What did it say to you? What did the author want you to know? And a couple of resources, I did say one was Lakeshore for the sequencing activities. Lakeshore has a couple of activities. You can even find them on some websites, and I pulled some that I like. Superteacher.com if you just want to have those leveled reading paragraphs with a couple of questions afterwards if that's where they're struggling. www.superteacher.com is a good resource. www.education.com has worksheets, comprehension worksheets. And for the younger ones, I like this one, edhelper.com is another resource that you can get comprehension activities where it'll have like a small short story and some questions that follow to make sure that the children are understanding what's going on. And one that I found this week was readingiq.com. It's just a plethora of books and leveled books that you can use online or on your tablet or on your phone. It does have a small price to join, but I really liked it because it also reads the stories to the students, and they can read it on their own. But again, it's leveled, so you can get the right reading levels if you've had those conversations, like we said in the past, with the parent to know what reading level your child is on. And again, my thing is read. The only way you're going to understand, the only way you're going to get better at something is if you do it. Practice makes perfect, or progress, more so progress than perfect, because no one's perfect. But anyway, I hope that some of the tips that I gave you all today will help you out, help you with your children. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Jarima or myself. We're always around. I'm always around. And I hope that you all have a wonderful Sunday afternoon. And thank you for joining in for our Lit Talk today. Bye.